And it's a $50 million lawsuit, which is crazy.
With all these producer lawsuits, you guys are making probably millions of beats a day. A lot of these beats are going to sound the same. Let me get your guys' opinion on something, because I was going through this profile this morning. There was a cat on Instagram, had like 2.1 million followers, but only like 5,000 monthly listeners. And I looked at what he was posting. He only had like 5 posts up, so I'm assuming that he deletes a lot of his posts. He had a lot of engagement on those 5 posts, so I'm assuming that also they were real, like it wasn't just botted or bot followers. But what do you think could be going on there when you have 2.1 million followers, but 5,000 or 6,000 monthly listeners?
I think it could be a situation like what you were saying earlier, where somebody's trying to go viral. I think it could be a situation to where they were doing something else first before it was music, and music may be a new offering, or maybe they were never really consistent with their music, so they haven't harnessed their fan base. Maybe they came from the 2000s, like earlier 2000s, and they were more of a bread and butter touring type person, and maybe they were able to convert some of their fan base online, but not to streaming necessarily. Or it could be paid for engagement and paid for, I've seen that, the bots, people who want to spend the money for the look, there's ways to look good now, even where it's like, okay, the followers, the engagement matches up. I started to notice when it's almost exclusively emojis and they have a lot of engagement, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Or it'll be the same phrases, but from different races of people, you know, and you're like, that wouldn't be a phrase that an Indian man, a black woman, and a middle-aged white woman would say. Do you know what I'm saying? It'll be, and then you can tell, because I had an artist who did this for YouTube. They paid this guy, and he was like, okay, I can get you 1,000 comments for this price, but you have to type out the comments. And I was like, bro. And he was like, that's how you make it look. But, you know, I didn't want to participate in that. So the artist, after like 10 or 15 phrases, was like, man, just refresh these. So then you're on the page, and it's like, it's not exactly every 15, because, you know, that person threw in some emojis and stuff, but like every 20 to 20 something is this rinse and repeat of the same thing. So I don't know, things are getting more intelligent, but I think it could be a lot of things. It could be that the music just doesn't eat. And so people are like interested in what they're doing online, but not interested in engaging with the music. And I think that's a conversion thing. I tell artists that all the time. It's like, you could run ads all day, every day, but getting me from Instagram or Facebook to a whole nother platform, not only to listen to the song once, but to continuously re-engage with your music monthly, is a way bigger feat than just running an ad. Like, a lot of ads on socials are traffic ads. They are not conversion ads. And that's like going back into what we were talking about with Brandon Torrey. Customer acquisition. That's what that is in the music industry. When you get somebody to go from watching what you're doing or not even knowing you exist to engaging with, spending money with you, or listening to your music, that is customer acquisition. And that is different than traffic. He has traffic, but he hasn't acquired the customers to pay attention to his music. So these are points that I think people should pay attention to.
Yeah.
So look, I'm on a profile like that right now. Someone who, it's not millions, but it's hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram with a very small amount of, and this is a person who makes, I would say, good music. I've just always kind of felt like I don't know. It doesn't matter how I feel about them, but I think their music is good. Their Spotify numbers are low. I mean, compared to having hundreds of, a lot of people think these numbers translate. Like, if you have 100,000 Instagram followers, of course you're going to have 100,000 monthly listeners. Not the case at all. He has a couple thousand, so not even making money that puts him on the radar. But he's monetizing his social media. He's making money doing that. And I think what it is a lot of musicians got frustrated with the prospect of making money off of their music. And so they found other ways. They found other content strategies. They found other side hustles, and they realized that for whatever reason, I think it's just the concept of some creative people just really wanting to work in a non-creative way, like a non-musically created way. I don't know if you've noticed that, where like a lot of artists will sit around and not want to make music, not want to be creative. The second that music starts feeling like a job, they lose their minds. They're like, I don't want to do it anymore, but they'll go to their 9 to 5 religiously. So a lot of musicians will make music and then really not do much with their music. They won't promote their music, but they'll promote the hell out of a skit, out of memes that they make. They'll promote their credit repair service. They'll do everything but the music, and then do crazy numbers doing that, and then their music numbers suffer. So I think we see that a lot, especially with the people, because independent music, if you're not Russ, you don't have millions and millions of social media followers. I feel like it's almost the opposite for successful unsigned artists, where they might have 50,000 followers on a social media platform, but they have millions of streams. It's generally not them having crazy social followings and equally high streaming numbers.
Yeah, I mean, some people have both, but what I will say is I wouldn't get in the habit of deleting your posts, right? Once you have like a cadence and you know what you're posting, you know what you're trying to share, like, have some confidence in your post. Every post is not going to perform well. Now, there is times where like Instagram is tripping and like you post it and it feels like nobody sees it at all. Like, maybe take that down and just repost it at a different time. Because I do believe that there's bugs sometimes and like nobody's even seeing the post. So it would make sense to maybe take it down and repost it. If that happens, that's more rare. But in general, don't take your post down, because people once they become fans of you, they want to engage more. They want to watch more content. So maybe it's not about how many fans you get on this one particular post, but it's about getting 3 or 4 really invested in what you're doing. And now they're like on the road to becoming super fans of what you're doing. So I don't like seeing people's pages that only have like 3 or 4 posts, because the artist is always like deleting stuff or only promoting what's most recent. To me, you're doing yourself a disservice if that's the case.
Yeah. And it goes back to the emotion, and I can relate to that. I almost deleted a video that I put, because I'm like, why aren't more people watching? It was a video that I thought was really helpful that I put on Instagram, and it's at like 6,000 views. I'm like, this was supposed to hit 50,000. Wanted to delete it, but it's helping some people, and I don't know.
If you think it's a good piece of content, which you should think for all of your posts, or at least most of them, then leave it up. It's going to resonate with someone if you feel passionately about it. So,
yeah. And you realize that people aren't really even looking at your numbers the way you are. People don't care. If they like the content, they like the content.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot with the MEC once I meet people in person, because, admittedly, like, my posts don't go super crazy, but people will reference specific things that I've said in posts. So, I kind of take my own advice when it comes to this. I'll leave stuff up, and I would encourage everyone else to do so. Just lock in and come up with content that you believe in. And, it's going to be a while before you get one to pop. Maybe. I mean, for some people it happens out the gate, but that's rare. But just be consistent with it. Payne, you got the last topic, man. Want to cue it up?
Oh, yes. This is your favorite style of MEC topic, producers getting sued. Well, artists getting sued over beats. I always read these articles And it sounds as though this entire copyright infringement suit against Cardi B boils down to the production, because she's being sued by a production duo who alleged copyright infringement on her recent track, Miami. And every detail is about the beat. And when you listen to the two tracks, it's a track called Greasy Fry Bread, so some native artists. And it's not a small song by any means. It was featured in a TV show, a bigger TV show, and it's a $50 million lawsuit, which is crazy. But they do mention the producers of the Cardi B song. So, number one, did Cardi B song make $50 million already? It's a good song. It's commercially successful. 50,000 seems like a lot. I think we're seeing this with loss. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how this stuff works. But it feels like people just come out the gate with the sledgehammer and really just try to knock as much money out of a situation as possible right off the bat, so that there's room to negotiate down. Maybe they only make 5 million. You know, they go from 50 to 5, and that's a 10%, or 5%. I can't do math. You know what I'm saying? You know, but yeah, 10% of 50 is 5, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, the question made me think like, yo, what? Yeah.
I know I'm looking at Erinn like, yeah, we're related. There's I make music.
You messed yourself up by saying it. You just said it like the way you set it up confused yourself.
I'm great at confusing myself. But yeah, you get 50,000 or 50 million, and then you end up with 5 million. You only got 10% of what you were initially asking for, and you're still doing well. And I'm not going to play the two songs, obviously, so we don't get a copyright claim against us. But what's interesting to me about this, aside from just the fact that this seems to be happening a lot lately, is contextualizing this in the broader conversation about what's happening in the music business, specifically with producers and the AI conversation, because we were having these conversations about the AI lawsuits. And what I've found interesting, and we talked about this before on previous episodes, there's a very clear accountability chain here, right? They're naming the individuals involved in the lawsuit. So Cardi B and the two producers, I don't even want to say names because this is all alleged, and you know, if you want to know who they are, you know, they're big producers. You can look for yourself. I just hope everything works out for everyone, because I think everyone involved is a dope artist. And you know, you hate seeing situations like this, especially when it's not a clear-cut case of infringement. You know, I listen to both tracks and I'm like, I can see why they think that, but I can also see how this was absolutely not copyright infringement. Who knows, right? But it goes back to this question of, can humans just be inspired by music that they hear and then it kind of lives in their head, and then they, I guess, unintentionally or subconsciously create what some would maybe legally consider derivative work or interpolations or, you know, whatever. And the answer is, yeah, of course. You get something in your head and it swims around in your head, and then you don't even realize the source of it because you've just been storing it in your subconscious. And then you sit down in front of a computer and you make a song like that, or you use similar lyrics to someone else, or you make a similar beat melody, you know, whatever the case is, similar drum pattern. But it is a big risk to you as a human, because they know exactly who was responsible for working on this track. When we look at the AI lawsuit, what are the AI companies doing? They're saying, look, The AI did this. We didn't do this. And then there's just no accountability. And you see in the comment section when we post those episodes, people are saying the same things. They're like, you can't blame the AI for that. I'm like, well, who are we blaming? Like, obviously we can't blame AI because AI didn't create itself. So that's why the platforms are being sued. And AI is not being sued. Like, AI can't appear in court to defend itself. Maybe one day it will, and at that point it's over for us. But I wanted to see exactly what the terms of service for these AI companies are, specifically the one that I saw creating very clear and obvious copyright infringement, which was, you saw this, right, Dame? Where I think it was, no, Suno AI, you would type in a prompt for a specific type of track that you wanted, and it would output a copyrighted producer tag. So no question there that that's copyright infringement. It's basically sampling, uncleared samples. I don't know how anyone can argue against that. People can, and they do. But what Suno says in their terms is, Suno hereby assigns to you all of its right, title, and interest in and to any output owned by Suno and generated from submissions made by you through the service during the term of your paid tier subscription. However, due to the nature of machine learning, Suno makes no representation or warranty to you that any copyright will vest in any output. To the extent permitted under applicable law, you agree to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless Suno, its affiliates, and their respective officers, employees, blah, 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 from any and all losses, damages, expenses, including reasonable attorney's fees, rights, claims, actions of any kind of injury arising out of or relating to your use of the service, any content or use thereof, your connection to the service. Yeah. You hear right there, they're saying we're not responsible for what comes out. I want to have a conversation with the lawyer to really talk about how enforceable this is, or if this is a real legal shield. But compare this to the Cardi B lawsuit, right? These producers feel like, and my bad, I haven't said their name, and I don't really know how to pronounce it, but it looks like Kamika 1956. If I'm saying it correctly, sorry if I'm not. Kamika 1956 says that these two producers, and therefore Cardi B and her label, have committed copyright infringement. What if I go on Suno and say, make me a strip club anthem, and what comes out is something similar to this Cardi B beat? To the point that Kamika 1956 say, you know what, you're violating our rights too. You're infringing on our copyright. We're going to sue you. I'm in trouble. Suno's not in trouble. I didn't do anything to warrant a lawsuit. I didn't create these melodies. I didn't ingest their songs. I didn't ingest copyright materials to create this output, but it's falling on me because I'm a human. And just by reading the terms of service from Suno, it looks as though they're not responsible legally. So that's a big difference, and potentially a big problem when they're being caught actually infringing on copyrights in a clear-cut way, compared to this Cardi B situation where it's kind of anyone's guess what happened. And is it obvious that these producers who made the Cardi B beat stole the idea for the track from Reservation Dogs? No, it's not clear. That's why there's this lawsuit, and they're going to work it out, and it's up to the courts, and it's up to the judge and the musicologist that each side, brings into the fold with them. With AI, what's the chain of accountability here? How would this look? How would this same lawsuit look if this were an AI generated beat?
I have no idea. I mean, with all these producer lawsuits, I mean, you guys are making millions and probably millions of beats a day. Like a lot of these beats are going to sound the same. You're using a lot of the same loops, you know. So when these lawsuits happen, you really have to get down in the details and like follow them to see like, you know, where the inspiration came from. That's why I just kind of throw my hands up when I hear these things. I have no idea. I don't have that much information. The AI stuff is still, you know, pending in terms of how the dust will settle. So it'll be interesting.
It was going to be interesting once there are lawsuits, copyright infringement lawsuits from songwriters too, when lyrics start popping up and they're the same.
Yeah, I think you mentioned at the beginning that like the rise of AI is contributing to more of these lawsuits, but I think none of the ones that we've really I won't say none, but few of the ones that we've covered recently had anything to do, again, with AI. And I know you're just making a point about how it's going to become more common. But I'm noticing, I think it's because it's so easy to find music and just hear music out in the world now. I have a relationship with like a folk artist, and he was asking me if I could connect him to this publisher because a friend of his is on their publishing roster but couldn't get a hold of them, and has like a real case against a massive artist that they used to tour with, because a song dropped maybe a few years ago that I guess this artist didn't realize dropped, and it's like almost mirrors their song. And I heard both of them, but I don't know if they're going to say like, oh, it's derivative. This got stuck in my head when we toured together and you played it and I didn't even realize it. Or is it just blatant theft, right? Like, I think that things like this happen. And I've had situations, like I have an artist who's super creative and has really cool album artwork. And it would seem like almost every 6 months, about 6 to 8 months after he would drop something, there are a couple of artists who are bigger than him, but kind of in the same circle, but like significantly bigger than him, who would always drop like similar motifs and things. And we were just like, one time we were just like, yo, this is wild. So he just started reposting side by sides of what he's dropped and then what they were dropping. And both of them got mad, reached out, said he was a hater, whatever, and was like really upset about it. And they were like, we should be together. We should be unified. We pulled up to an event maybe a few months later. I pulled up with him to one in Atlanta. Graphic designer beelines for us. He goes, yo, I realize that I'm such a big fan of you. I'm subconsciously tucking stuff. So when I'm sending them things, I don't think that I'm stealing from you. He's like, but when everything started going down on the internet, I couldn't say anything. I'm on salary with these guys. He's like, I just got to apologize. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like these bigger artists were losing their shit because we were like, yo, like how come so if they're spelling stuff the same way he's spelling it, it's like, how is your song titled exactly like ours? Like, why did you choose to spell the words that way? So I think that there is a lot of, I think as humans, we are, again, derivative. We said this at the beginning of this, like, there's nothing new. It's just a rehashing or a reincarnation, re-inspiration of something. But I do think we have to be intentionally mindful. And so I don't mind when people, especially when they're like, hey, we are friends, or hey, I've been around you before. This sounds very similar to this. I think if you reach out and it's cool and amicable and you can reach an agreement, cool. But I know I've seen a lot of times you make that mention and people recoil and then it becomes a legal thing. With us, with the artwork, it's like, what are you going to sue for? Intellectual, it's like, we couldn't really sue for anything with that. So, and I wasn't planning on it. But I think when it comes to a song that you can actually tell, especially if you can establish a precedence where it's like, again, I used to tour with y'all or X, Y, and Z, then I think it's important to like protect your intellectual property. That's last year. That was the conversation. I had some IP issues and my friends and advisors were like, don't even go after these people. Again, hindsight, because of all the legal and different stuff I had to go through, I wish I would have been able to stick with owning and keeping my intellectual property, but it might have cost me a lot of money up front. It could have cost me a lot more headache, which is why they were like, just let it go. But I'm looking at it from somebody who may not have as much going on as me, or maybe they have more going on and they have the time and the resources to be like, yo, I gotta go after this. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think just the fact that you can look up any track that's ever been released in the world is making it easier for people to be like, nah, you can't take this from me. Because folks used to steal back in the day. It just was harder. There wasn't enough information about it, going after people. How do I know if they stole it for real? So I think times have just changed and people want to protect themselves.
Yeah. I think the beauty of humans taking from other humans is that it's a manageable task where it is, because there might be 2 people involved. There might be 5 people involved. There might be 10 people involved. That's manageable. Whereas if the output is 800,000 songs a day and there are no humans behind those outputs. They're the programmers and the owners of the platforms. That's far less manageable. I want to know what the end game is, because this is new information that I just found out, that Google has actually partnered for an AI app, a generative AI app with the with the record labels, some of them at least, and they've licensed the likenesses and the voices of some major label artists. And it's a whole partnership between the labels, Google, YouTube, which is exactly what we said was going to happen. The labels were just going to co-opt AI because they want in. So what's their end game overall? How are they going to monetize this? Because the labels aren't doing this out of the goodness of their hearts or to create cool and innovative apps. They want to make money at the end of the day. So what is the end game? And I still haven't figured that out yet.
You already know what they're going to be doing.
No, my bad. With the labels, I know what they're trying to do. With the AI, with the generative AI platforms like Suno, which are free, and then there's like the paid tier, that can't be their end game. That can't be what they're getting tens of millions of dollars invested in them to do. That can't be the end point, right? Just to have a subscription model.
No, I think the end game is to exit a lot of times. So you're just trying to acquire as many partnerships, catalogs, songs, whatever, until you can sell it for an exit. But it could just be them testing the technology for a way bigger play. This could be like them working on the technology to aggregate missile launch codes or whatever, like it could be something military. It could be something, who knows? So I think part of it is probably them trying to enhance the technology. I think another part is a good exit strategy. But, with the labels, they're going to be doing Michael Jackson albums. They're going to be doing Tupac albums. Then they're going to be having them perform at Coachella again. They already started doing that. And I never looked at those videos. I was like, I don't want to do this. This seems like extremely disrespectful of the dead, So I don't know. I just think it's all weird. I think the reason that I made that face when you said it's manageable is because I'm thinking about this reggaeton lawsuit that's perpetual.
Oh, yeah.
Up. So manageable with humans, especially with songs over a long period of time. I think I get what you're saying. Like, at scale, AI is way more unmanageable, but I don't think that makes the human aspect manageable, so to speak, especially considering I went through 2 intellectual property issues myself last year. And I'm like I had proof that I owned both of them, but it was so complicated and tedious to go through the process and so already heartbreaking that I was like, again, sounder minds were like, just let it go, because it's not enough money for you to spend this much time on it when in 2 years you won't even blink about this.
Yeah. I'm thinking, if I have tens of millions of dollars to throw around and invest in a company, if the company looks at me and says, this is our model, this is our plan, we are going to infringe on a bunch of copyrights, create this platform that spits out derivative works, and that's our model. And be like, I'm not giving you money. That sounds like a big risk, and I don't see what the reward is to that. How are you going to scale this up? How are we going to? What's the ROI? What's the revenue model? What's the long term? And I don't know anything about investing, but I'm thinking like with Shark Tank, they'd tear that idea up. So there must be something else.
When you're investing at that level, it's not about the immediate dollars and cents return. Do you know what I'm saying? When you get into that type of
but what's the prolonged return? What's the long-term return?
It's about ownership and like it's market share, IP. I think there are a lot of plays there, but I also have this theory, and I'm not trying to launch into a conspiracy theory 3 minutes before I jump off, but I have this theory that once you get to that level of money, it's all investments are just a version of money laundering, and some of them work out, but that's just what I think a lot of times.
Well, I know Erinn has a heart out, so let's go ahead and wrap this up, Payne.
Damn, I wanted to hear the conspiracy theories. You can get free. Theory. Oh, I want to go deeper into that. There is a conspiracy theory out there that you can get 3 free months of premium music distribution for free. It's not just a theory, though. It is true. You can go to tolost.com, use the code ADODDS, and get that very deal for yourself. You can upload a lot of music. You can monetize a lot of music in 3 months. Music stays up even if you don't want to continue with your service, so it's a win-win. Or you can pull it down. Whatever. I'm just saying try it out if you have music sitting around. It's not serving you. It's not getting out to the fans. It's not getting out to the people. It's not changing the world. So don't sit on your music. Drop it. tolost.com. Use the code ADODDS, and we will be back here on the podcast next week. Peace.
Peace.